His ex-wife Andrea Kelly has been victimized a great deal in relation to the ongoing case against the father of her lovely children and king of R&B R.Kelly for a number of reasons. This has largely been a result of her involvement with the surviving R.Kelly docuseries production that saw her participate in a storytelling TV show that was intended to tarnish her ex-husband. Fortunately or unfortunately, her story was eventually cut short when the very government that conditioned her to do what she did through a blackmail approach later turned against her, when they allowed government witness Jane to throw her strongest blow at her and claim she was one of her offenders. Much as this happened, considering we know the kind of witnesses the government brought to the stand, and the arrangement they had made with the government to say anything that tarnished the R&B king, we cannot rush to judge Andrea Kelly in that respect. Also important to note is that she too had been preconditioned by the same government to either join in the act or face the law. Convinced she could be arrested and detained just like the other women, Andrea had no choice but to join in and take part in Surviving R. Kelly Episode 1, as well as appear on various media platforms criticizing the R&B king who doubles as father to her lovely children. Poor Andrea Kelly was bamboozled by the pretentious government which later on betrayed him during the Chicago trial, and we believe she now knows what kind of institution she dealt with. The government doesn't really care about anybody for as long as in the end they get their man. If they are out to get R. Kelly, they will make sure to achieve this by any means possible legally or illegally, and it won't matter who they take down with him in the process. That's why they made sure to scare everyone around R. Kelly who would otherwise defend him with threats of possible imprisonment, and like that managed to bury the good side of R. Kelly and have these people lie on him in exchange for their freedom. The perfect example being Lisa Van Allen, who was walked to the courthouse hand in hand with her father to go lie on R. Kelly and claim she was underage too, yet she was clearly of age when she first met with him. Why should we believe the rest when we have such a live example? There is no doubt that Andrea Kelly was likely put in a similar situation and forced to ditch the father of her own children. I mean, who does that in normal circumstances? If you have been warned, however, that if you didn't you could go to jail, the mere thought of your children having to live with both parents in prison will likely cause you to consider their bargain. It's important to note that the life of a mother and therefore her choices are influenced by so many factors. The day a woman becomes a mother, they stop making decisions basing on their own needs but the needs of their children, and when guarding their own, no one else seems to matter. I have seen women confess to crimes they didn't commit just to make sure their children don't go to prison. For a moment, therefore, Andrea Kelly likely thought to herself, if I have to speak the worst and lie on their father to save their future and what's left of theirs, and that's their mother, I will do it. This is how R. Kelly ended up a victim of propaganda spread by his own ex-wife, and the other women who were equally coerced into testifying against him and against their will. In our previous video, for example, we discussed how Tasha K's leaking of R. Kelly's jail communications became the reason many of these women who still loved him turned against him. Scorned and in anger, they were also lured into lying against their own man they still cared about. Testimonies made in such circumstances cannot be regarded valid and usable by the jury as basis to make a judgment, plus the whole act of witness coercion is illegal and punishable by law. We recently published a video on this channel that showed a government prosecutor suggests that by testifying against R. Kelly, these women were vindicated. Indicating that whatever testimonies they were issuing had in fact been in exchange for vindication. By saying this, the prosecutor had indirectly confessed to coercing and conditioning these women in a sort of blackmail approach to either say what they wanted said against R. Kelly, or they get jailed with him as criminals too. Considering the women had already witnessed the government exercise its impunity when dealing with R. Kelly himself, they had to do exactly as the government said to avoid unexpected eventualities, and Andrea Kelly is no exception. We cannot rule out witness intimidation by the government in their ploy to destroy R. Kelly, and I am confident that even if it takes years to unearth what really happened that caused women to turn against the man they loved, it will eventually happen and we will know what the government did to these people that caused such a dramatic change of goalposts. We have published videos on this channel by the very same Andrea Kelly where she was describing her ex-husband as the best thing that has ever happened to her, only later to turn around on him and make allegations that did not quite add up. Any observant person can clearly see that there is more to what meets the eye when it comes to what happened to the likes of Andrea Kelly, and the others who participated in the R. Kelly defamation campaign. According to Mildred, It in fact got me scared to see how fast a female could lie on her man and choose to tear his life apart, and also keep him away from his children. I mean, what kind of woman would one have to be to do that? The possibility that she was indeed tricked into this surely does exist, and this for sure would explain her unspeakable actions. Any woman will get out of their way to make sure her children are protected, especially from the government which threatened to deny them the presence of both parents. There is a great chance that R.Kelly did not intend to ditch R.Kelly but found herself in a rather tight situation, where she had to give up one party to protect the other. It's quite difficult to have respect for R.Kelly after all the negative things she said. This likely explains why she did what she did. The real criminal here is the government, which will break the law at every opportunity to get what they want. According to Majorine, I didn't think the prosecution was this shrewd to have to intimidate everyone just to be able to destroy the career of one man and have him locked up for life. For sure the women looked intimidated all through when they spoke out. Chicago witness Jane, for example, who even had the guts to mention that she still loved R.Kelly on the stand, was likely intimidated and forced to testify. The only reason such a person would testify against a man she still loves is if she was intimidated and compromised by the government. It's no longer news that the government through Tasha K and the BOP officers did participate in witness tampering to compromise potential defense witnesses into choosing to tell all kinds of lies about R.Kelly in exchange for vindication, having been convinced that they had committed crimes themselves, which wasn't necessarily the case. R.Kelly had better reconcile this issue before it's too late and explain what caused her to speak the worst of the father to her children. Otherwise she will leave a scar behind which will haunt her for the rest of her life. If she was intimidated by government in any way, it's time to speak about it.